Welcome to this new episode of Working with Agents. Today we compare 6 different AIs on the same task and see what result it gives to us. Use case that we're looking at is to compute the ROI of the text model, of the current text model that are available on the market. Why do we do this? Because most of the industry communicates on performance, pure performance, but businesses should worry about ROI. How do we define ROI? We define it by the performance divided by the price. This is a good proxy for the efficiency of a text model in a business context. So we wrote a prompt here, and we're going to use the same prompt on all 6 AI, some text model and some agents, and we want to see the result. We found 2 websites that have exactly the information that we're looking for. So the first website is a benchmark that has the performance and the price, and the second one has the release date of every single model that we're looking at. So we wrote this prompt. We want to concentrate on the last 24 months. We want a total number of 30 models. We want the major one on the market. And we want the AI to use the icon of the company, so it makes it easy to read and we can see where everybody is. First one, we use Copilot. So Copilot, in its most basic version, has a quick response. And this is what we got. We got not an execution of the task, but all the pieces that we need to assemble as a user to get what we want. So we get code, Python code. We get dummy data that we need to replace with data eventually. And it works. It works if you know how to run Python code. Another thing we need to do is we need to get the icons from all these companies. So we have an extensive list here. And if we run that, it works on our dummy data. And this is what it looks like. Again, if you know how to write code, this is a good accelerator. Yeah. Second one, we use OpenWebUI in combination with DeepSeek v3. Again, this is a text model, but OpenWebUI gives it the additional ability to run the code. So comparison with Copilot, here DeepSeek has generated the code, but there's also a button to run the code. So I don't need to install Python on my machine. I don't need to know how to code. I don't need to have a development environment. As a user, I can just run the code. Only problem is it doesn't work. There's a mistake. There's an error. I tried to fix it. I honestly didn't spend too much time on it. I could remove the error, but then the page came out empty. So again, a text model will not be able to do this task for you. They can give you bits and pieces of things that you have to do by yourself. If you're a coder, maybe that's okay. If you're not, if you're a business user, you have to look for something a bit more sophisticated than DeepSeek v3 or Copilot. You have to move to an agent. So here we're using Kimi K2. K2 was sold as an advanced reasoning model with agentic capability. Again, copy and paste the same prompt, and let's see what happens. It's doing the analysis, finding the information. Again, it's writing code and executing it. So I don't need to be a developer. I have access to the source code, which is good to do some verification. And then I have access to the end result. Problem with Kimi, it misunderstood the task completely. It's using a Gantt chart to display the release date of all the models. There's no notion of performance, even though it says vertical position is the AI index divided by the price, there's no such thing. Actually, it's sorted by provider. So a good case of hallucination, misunderstanding the task, executing it in a different way, and pretending that it has done something. Yeah. So the agentic capabilities of Kimi K2 in that particular scenario, not convinced. Yeah. Another thing interesting is the model that we're selected. Here we have quite a lot of OpenAI. We have some Google, Anthropic, Meta, Mistral, and DeepSeek. We don't have XAI. We don't have Microsoft. And the model themselves, the choices were different. You know? We go back to, if we come back here, we had OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral. We had Cohere and AI21. Only DeepSeek find these 2 companies and these two models. And Microsoft had Microsoft, Apple, Alibaba, so the Chrome model. It has its own model, Microsoft, Mistral, Meta, and Anthropic. That's also an interesting difference given the same source of information, the model will pick up different model in different context. Now, let's go into something a little bit more serious. Now let's go into GenSpark. So GenSpark, real agentic capabilities, meaning you can give instructions like this, which are more an end result, and the agent will figure out how to do it. Using the two websites, searching, looking. Again, a slightly different list of models. A lot of models are the same, but some are different choices in there. So for example, there's no Microsoft in this one. Visual design, a few comments, and finally, generating an image. That one looks pretty good. That one looks actually what we're looking for. We have points on the map. It's not using the company logo. It failed on this one, or kind of missed it. And the distribution looks reasonable towards what we were expecting. Problem is there's no legend. So if it tells me these are probably Gemini, maybe, not even sure. So without this, the legend is not there. If you're a developer, great thing for you. It gave you a notebook, so you can use Jupyter to come and modify whatever you want to modify. So for example, changing them. Yeah. And then from the top performers here with the index. So indeed, these were Gemini. These two were Gemini. Number one, and then Claude IQ, Haiku, so probably here, Anthropic, and so on and so on. But without the legend, it's not very easy to determine. Another thing that we wanted to check, so looking at the code itself, was the accuracy. Actually, this one is not accurate at all. These ratios are not at all what we're looking for. Not sure where GenSpark found the information. Maybe found the wrong column in the table, but at the end the ratio doesn't make sense compared to what we are. Another hypothesis is that it went out and looked for other websites and was not limited to the two websites that we gave, which was justify the differences into the outcome. But at least we don't have to copy code. We don't have to run the code by ourselves. But we still have the option to modify it if we want. Now let's look at Manus, the one we've been using a lot. So Manus, true agent, fully autonomous, looking for information by itself, giving us the intermediary results. So these are the data that are there. But there's a very big issue here. We asked for 30 models and we only have 7. Don't know why, no idea why these 7 were chosen. They're not even the most popular. Like the GPT OSS was not chosen by any other of the agents, so it's a little bit strange. And then we have the same issue. These index scores are not the aggregated score that we have in the website that we choose. Yeah. And the prices are also a little bit strange. O3 Pro is not $35 per million of entries. So data is a little bit weird. Now let's look at the final result. Not very elegant. I can't read that. I don't really know. There are a few information that overlap, the colors. It tried to put the logo, so this is the OpenAI logo, but again, I'm not convinced. And one other thing, it did log scale. So that's not what we want. We want, on the contrary, to really see the differences in ROI. The log scale will kind of push things together, and this is not what we want. So Manus, visually not appealing, also inaccuracy on the numbers, and really not good. Yeah. And finally, the last one we try, Anygen. So Anygen, looking for so totally autonomous, looking at information, but at least in a very transparent way, it's leveraging other websites. So that's not what we want. Maybe we need to be a bit stricter into our prompts that we want to use these two sources of information. In previous tests with Anygen, we've already seen that Anygen works better when it does the search by itself. So we have to try, but we want to have one source of reference because this diagram, we want to be able to compare it month by month. So we want a certain level of stability, and these AI agents don't give any stability in the outcome. At least we would like to have stability in the sources of information. As for the final results, very nice, very sleek, like as always with Anygen. So we have an interactive site. So although it's not using the icon from the company, I can hover over the diagram and I can see the number, I can see the AI index, the price, and the aggregate value. I have a legend, so the colors are clear, they are quite differentiating, and I can go back in time. So by far the best representation. It even added a kind of trend to show that the industry is giving better ROI. And again, we're not looking at performance, we're looking at ROI. Now, on the data itself, because it went through different sources of information, it is not using the AI index from the website that we did. It looks consistent, but it's not really what we want. So first conclusion of all of this, we cannot let the AI agent get the data by itself. We don't have enough control. Giving the sources of information is not enough. So if I have to do this one again, and I need to do it regularly, so I will go and automate in another way the way to get the data from the sources of information that I know and I can qualify. And then I will give a final result where I will make my own selection, 30 of the 30 models, update it if they are new models, and I will feed the inputs into all these AI. We cannot let them do and get it because we don't control the outcome. And then there's something else that I didn't ask, but that some model gave to me. It's a bit of analysis. So let's go back from the beginning. So Copilot didn't give me any analysis, just instruction about how can I do it by myself. DeepSeek gave me a little bit of comments, which are interesting because these comments don't rely on the diagram because the diagram was not generated. So these are just general comments that are pulled out from the internet. They are true, but they are not very interesting. And they don't drive value from the fact that we've computed ROI. As for Kimi, so Kimi doesn't give me any comments. It just comments on what's on the diagram. And again, this is wrong because it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Here I have some very basic analysis from GenSpark. So the top value champion, which is a good thing, top 5 is always nice. The market dynamics, this is starting to get a little bit more interesting, dominance and value, strong open source competitor. But again, it's very generic and doesn't depend on the diagram. This is probably the result of an independent search on the internet. Comments on the diagram, which I don't really need, and then market evolution insight, which is very similar actually to the market dynamics, and a nice conclusion. So if I don't know a lot about AI and I have to do like maybe a middle school research paper, this is great. I'll get a 20 out of 20 or 100 out of 100. Yeah. Next, if we look at Manus gives some interesting comments. These one are looking at the value efficiency. So at least this is the first one that really looks at the data that were produced by the analysis and analyzing them. It's not just pulling out general things from the internet. It's more, I would say, on task. This is the task that we're looking at, ROI. Now these are my comments about ROI, and they're good, they're nice, and they're based on the efficiency ratio with information there. And then a trend that again is using the result of the analysis, not just general information that can be found on the web. So on this one, Manus is better, but again, unfortunately, not enough models to make it worth our time and not visually appealing. So the winner on the analysis is also Anygen by far. So historical value transformation. So based on the calculation and on the ratio that are there, it makes a very compelling reasons that we moved a more than a million-fold from here to here. So the market has gone through tremendous transformation. This is right, and this is absolutely the most critical part. Intelligent selling breakthrough, so achieving index score. So it's going back at the index score and saying in terms of pure performance, something interesting is happening as well. Geographic power shift, so a Chinese company getting into the game. It is able also to detect that, and it's very visible into the diagram as well. And it's giving 3 era of evolution. And where I really like it is that these era are actually shown directly on the diagram. So there is a consistency into the overall analysis. And now we're not talking middle school research paper on AI. Now we're looking at things that we could use inside a corporate that have real value. Yeah. And then a bit more of raw data, long-term market trends, and then a bit more details on the era. And all of these, none of these have asked. They're coming out for free on top of everything that have been asked, but they're really interesting and deep analysis using the results of the task that was given. I could really use that. I can make a whole presentation out of that. So in conclusion, there's a big difference between normal text model and AI agent. You could see from Copilot all the way to Anygen that Copilot, I need to do almost everything by myself. Anygen, everything is done for me, and I have even more than I ask, things that are really relevant. So you see the range from this one. Second learning, very important. Process the data by yourself. Second learning, very important. You need to process the data and select it by yourself and give the data to the AI. Don't let the AI do their own search, because it's extremely difficult to constrain an agent into a given source of information. We can see that most of them went out and found information from other locations. Subscribe to this channel if you want to know more about the difference between normal agents, automated agent, autonomous, and text model. And stay tuned for our next episode of Working with Agents.